If you're enjoying haunted UK fiction, please consider supporting the show on Patreon or Ko-fi. Simply search for Haunted UK Podcast. Perhaps that swelling is the stalk, he thought, as he squeezed it between two fingers. A just perceptible sigh came from the thing in his hand, and a dark, rich brown powder appeared. Like smoke, it drifted into the air just past his face and blew towards the fence before vanishing. Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to Haunted UK Fiction, a sister podcast to The Haunted UK, which features original flash fiction, short stories and novellas with paranormal themes. All stories you will hear were written by a collection of talented writers, authors and storytellers, both independent and professional. In this Flash Fiction Friday episode, we'll be reading a collection of excerpts from Tales of Unease by Elizabeth Wilson. Get comfortable. Grab a little something to sip on. Perhaps cuddle up under a blanket to help offset the chills coming your way. And let's dive into the story. Alt reality. The glare of the screen makes the solitary and weary man's face glow eerily. The click-clack of the keys slow and methodical as his pale fingers dance over them. As his sunken eyes scan the sight before them, he smiles at the sense of the old-fashioned, the sluggish way the sight operates with the same nondescript colors and formats. They're designed to put the user at ease with parting with their money, corresponding with unseen entities, possibly eyeing guilty pleasures. And which guilty pleasures shall be his today? The viewer ponders, knowing full well that he will decide on the usual menu. Banking, as the bills must be paid to keep the lights on and food on the table. Then, he shall indulge in social networking, catching up on what his comrades are doing, shopping, movies, dates, and so on. He will make up appropriate events equal to what he has read, so as to feel like he belongs in their world. Then, perhaps, he'll take a break and prepare a quick meal in the microwave, accompanied by a cup of sugared tea with a dash of milk from the fridge. A homely concept of comfort. The smile, rare but extraordinary in the light of the screen, widens as he puts his plan into place in his exhausted mind, and leans back into his dusty, worn chair, momentarily satisfied and soothed. Suddenly, a bombastic sound shudders through the room, and he looks to the stark military-grey basement wall to see the crimson warning light flashing, blinding eyes that had somewhat grown used to the dimmer colours on the old monitor. A woman enters the room on the heels of the shrill racket, sharp eyes tracing the darkly lit, red-streaked room and falling upon the lone figure slumped before the small desk in the far corner. "Sorry to interrupt R&R, sir, but they have broken containment lines. We can't hold out much longer. They have consumed most of the frontline unit." With a deep sigh, one of resignation and loss, the man turns to the computer and looks at the screen, at the colours, activity, and dreams of a world now no longer. A world he never really knew. As he shuts the dream machine down, dons his weapon, and heads towards what may be his final undoing, he wonders sadly what it would be like to be that man who exists only in the computer, to realise the potential of a life he will never live. Backyard pulp. Wet sucking sounds erupted wherever he walked. It irritated him, these emissions, for he hated being reminded that he was enduring another soggy winter. As he groaned, something caught his eye, a spot of white against the grass and mud. Crouching down to examine it closer, it dawned on him that he was looking at some type of strange mushroom. Only a week ago, he'd cleared some long-stalked specimens ringing the bottom of a tree stump. He possessed a cat that had acquired a taste for just about anything forbidden or bad for him, and so the fungi were removed to eliminate temptation. And now, these buggers had appeared. Annoyed but intrigued, he reached down and gently plucked the puffy tan thing. Its appearance was like that of a largish button mushroom, like you have on a steak if you took the top and turned it inside out, perforating the edges 4 times, removing the stem and replacing it with a swollen brownish sac. The whole thing looked bloated and sickly, a runt poorly formed. Perhaps that swelling is the stalk, he thought, as he squeezed it between 2 fingers. A just perceptible sigh came from the thing in his hand, and a dark, rich brown powder appeared. Like smoke, it drifted into the air, just past his face, and blew towards the fence before vanishing. Surprised, he dropped it, checked his hands hurriedly for signs of the substance, and when none could be found, put his hands to his face to see if any lay there. Deciding he was in the clear, he started to feel foolish. He reasoned that his worry was rooted in the very real concern that the powder might cause him hives or some other allergic reaction that he was prone to. Annoyance turned to anger as he noted another 6 of these monstrosities nestled in the limp, bruised grass. Armed with gardening gloves and a bucket, he carefully plucked the remaining vermin and placed them in the bucket, their fate to be put in the bin. Despite his best efforts, 2 more sacks popped before the task was complete. The horrid brown fumes blowing away towards the fence every time. The contents of the bucket finally tossed into the rubbish to be forgotten, the man grunted and left the yard. Days later, on an unseasonably warm and muggy afternoon, he was taking a stroll through the backyard when he heard a strange sound coming from the direction of the fence. He called to his cat, concerned that it was the source of the noise, having not come back home for dinner the previous evening. No cat could be seen, and he pinpointed the sound to be coming from beyond the fence, from his neighbour's yard. Finding a split in a panel that gave him a reasonable view, he placed his left eye close and scanned. Whitish and puffy, bloated and sickly, a mutated thing lurched into view. A chesty wheeze, the sound he'd heard, was emanating from its drooling, gaping, toothless mouth, and with every exhale, a dark brownish powder curled like smoke out into the air. Its milky humanoid eyes stared sightlessly at a cat swinging from an old, rusted clothesline. Surprise discovery. Beth always had a passion for discarded things, the items lost to a dusty corner, a pitiful face drowning in a sea of cut kitsch. Pieces that did not look like they were surrendered but specifically removed. She'd seen the powder blue bear in the window of the curiosity shop and felt instant sorrow at his dishevelled, patchy fur. Beth had to save him. I'll give the poor dear a sweet bow, adjust the angle of his head, and sit him in a place of light, she thought to herself. Swiftly turning on her heel, marching with purpose, Beth approached the shop's front door, only to be met with disappointment. It was closed. Noting that she would be allowed entry the following day at 10 a.m., she vowed to cancel existing plans and return for the bear. That night, she found herself thinking of that little lost plush and wondered if he knew that he was about to be rescued, that she was coming for him, so that he did not spend the evening in despair. Beth arrived too early the following morning, and so she indulged in a coffee at a little cafe she favoured, her feet nervously tapping as she waited for the shop to open. Sighing with relief as the sliding doors moved, giving her entry, she took in the unfolding landscape of endless displays filled with once-loved debris. Her hazel eyes darted from side to side, scanning over boxes and cabinets as her feet carried her effortlessly to the place she knew the bear was waiting for her. Turning to her left, Beth slid between two tables, taking in the contents of warm bric-a-brac, which was when she first noticed it. It gave her pause. It startled her so she found herself frozen in place by its eyes. Shaking her head, she resumed moving towards the window and delicately lifted the bear up and into her arms. "I got you," she whispered and smiled. Spinning around, it caught her eye again. Solid, faded pastel blue, tan and white, it squatted on a table amongst candle holders, salt and pepper shakers, porcelain figurines, things of a very pleasant and dull nature. Refusing to meet Beth's gaze, it endlessly looked upwards, its little painted mouth in a frown. She loved dogs, found them adorable, but this ceramic specimen was not cute, even with the sculptured bow around its neck. Yet neither did she find it grotesque. Its expression was unsettling and amusing. Gingerly lifting it up, oddly reluctant to disturb its reverie, she looked beneath it to find nothing but the words, "Made in England." Its inherent sense of mystery was too much for Beth to pass up, and she found herself placing the bear and the dog on the sales counter. She was very pleased with her purchases and surprised discovery. Upon arriving home, the figurine was left on a shelf in the sitting room for its condition to be examined in more detail later that day, whether it needed to be washed and where its final display position would be. The afternoon was spent attending to the bear, the fur brushed and a long bow of powder blue and ivory placed around its neck. The strange pooch sat unattended for the remainder of the day. Somehow forgetting its existence, it was days later that Beth, sitting and reading, saw it out of the corner of her eye, and once again, it startled her. She detected movement in its eyes, a break from looking above before resuming its stare. But at what? What was it so fixed on? And why did it look away so suddenly? Laughing at her disconcerted mood, she went back to reading. However, she couldn't ignore the sense that something was amiss, and in the peripheral vision of her right eye, she continued to track. And that was when she caught it red-handed, staring straight at her. Beth moved fast to confront it, but without seeing the movement, its eyes were once more in their familiar position. Then the realization hit her that at no point had she bothered to look up in the same direction as it was looking. As Beth's eyes rolled towards the ceiling, her last sound was simply a loud, frightened gasp. That brings us to the end of this episode. We truly hope you enjoyed these eerie, uneasy tales. If you would like to hear more from Elizabeth Wilson, you can find her work, her social media, and contact information in the show's notes. If you have an original story that would send a chill down our spines and you would like to submit it for review, simply send it in to hauntedukfiction@hotmail.com. That's hauntedukfiction@hotmail.com. Until next time, stay safe and take care.